Greater Good Radio. Connect, learn, heal, and grow.
When you're recruiting players and coaches, how do you know that they're good people?
Well, I spend, time with them when on the recruiting weekend, and I rely a lot on our players. Our players host the recruits when they come in. They spend 48 hours with them, and they know who's a good guy and who's not a good guy. And I ask them, I said, what do you think of so-and-so? And, oh, he's the best, he's a great kid. And then I'll sit down with him. And, you got to take some chances. I've taken some chances and won some of them and took some chances and on some other kids that haven't panned out. But really, to be quite honest, 3 of my best players were in jail when we recruited them. And they have been our best players, and they are the best kids that we've had. I mean, Pisa Tinoisamoa, I really took a chance because of his mother. His mother was just the greatest lady I'd ever met, and I knew that there's no way that this kid doesn't have that, because I knew what his mom stood for. She's a very strong Christian lady, and I knew he had that in him to be a good kid. And sure enough, that's what happened. And then Colt Brennan, I think, had some trouble, obviously, at Colorado. Nobody, believed, but I spent time with them, and I made all the phone calls to all his coaches, everybody, and they all said he's the greatest kid you'll ever be around. And guess what? He is one of the best I've ever had, pro or college, as far as quarterback physically and knowing how to handle everything else, the media, the team, the leadership, everything. And then Davone Bess, we actually saw him in a prison football game, and we recruited him, and he made freshman All-American, and he is one of the sweetest spirited kids I've ever been around. And you take a chance, you roll dice on some of those guys, and sure enough, they've panned out and they've worked good. And I've noticed they're very appreciative of the second chance that we've given them.
What's the reason that makes you motivated as a coach to give these guys a second chance? Because some people might just say it's just really going to bring a negative message to the team, and
Well, I think you have to have success with those kids. I mean, I remember bringing Pisa Tinoisamoa. I had to go to the president of the school because he was in prison when we signed him, and there's a certain trust that he had in me, that I was going to do what I said I'm going to do with the guy. And I'm not going to take a chance on a kid if I don't think he can turn it around. I mean, a lot of kids, right away that they're not going to turn it around. Well, then you're going to have a problem. I mean, you're going to have a problem. And, I've stood by a lot of those kind of kids, and it's worked for me. And if they weren't in that trouble, we wouldn't get them. I mean, they go to UCLA, they go to USC, they go to Notre Dame. I mean, none of those kids would have gotten here. Pisa Tinoisamoa was the only player in Southern California ever to be named offensive and defensive player in his high school year. I mean, no player has ever done that in California. And nobody would touch him after he got in his gang trouble. And, after investigating, Dennis McKnight went up to his parole, his court hearing, and pleaded with the judge to, release him to us, and it worked.
If you resonate with Greater Good Radio, please join our community at www.greatergoodradio.com, where you can get access to exclusive content and offerings. Hope to see you soon.